Hello dear audience, and welcome to your channel. Today we gonna continue the next episode, part 2. So, listen to your favorite podcast. Again, and again must tell you that, this book is only for teenagers and adults, so, please dears, be careful in this regard. Well, I hope you will be with me until the end of the book, and like and subscribe your channel. Here is the story. Nina, sensing Sakura'S vulnerability and loneliness, decided to care for her like a daughter. Her small home, warm, filled with the scent of fresh bread, became a place where Sakura might begin a new life. Nina told her bedtime stories and tried, day after day, to bring a smile to her face. "You're not alone anymore. You're my daughter now, Sakura." She said it gently, again and again, as though trying to heal the hurt with kindness. But Sakura held something deep inside, something no comfort could extinguish. A feeling called duty. Each night, as the world slept, she would gaze at the map Nina had given her, imagining the path toward the northern forest. One night, with Nina sound asleep, Sakura quietly rose from bed. She picked up her bundle and cast a final look at the warm, loving home. Then she walked to the table and gently lifted a sprig of wildflowers Nina always kept in a vase. She laid it on the table as a silent token of gratitude. For a moment, she hesitated, as though wanting to speak, but in the end, whispered only, "Thank you, Nina, but I must go." The next morning, Nina discovered that Sakura was gone. Her eyes filled with tears. The flower on the table felt like a quiet message from a girl she had grown to love like her own. She sighed and said with a trembling voice, "You're so brave, little one. But I wish you had let me help you." Sakura continued onward. Beneath a sky painted with twilight's colors, a gentle wind blew from the north. Her feet ached, but the flame of purpose within her still burned bright. Just ahead, the creaking of wagon wheels caught her ear. A wooden cart filled with vegetables and fruits was slowly heading toward the next town. Beside the wagon stood an elderly couple. Their hair was white, and their hands bore the folds of age, yet their smiles were warm and kind. The old man, with a gentle voice, asked, "My dear, where are you headed?" Sakura paused. The words caught in her throat. Her eyes fixed on the wagon, and instead of replying, she simply lowered her head. The elderly woman stepped forward and said, "If you're going to the next town, come aboard. We can take you there." Sakura said nothing, but quietly climbed onto the wagon, settling in the back. The road ahead was long, but this brief companionship offered a small warmth to her journey. The wind played gently through her hair, and the wagon wheels creaked without pause. Sitting among crates of vegetables and fruit, Sakura watched the slow motion of the wooden cart along the dirt road. The sound of squeaky wheels and the soft breeze passing through the fields invited her thoughts to wander. Her long hair swayed with each breath of wind. The quiet between her and the elderly couple became a moment of reflection. Sakura gazed toward the horizon. The long road ahead, northward, where she hoped to find a powerful master, was etched into her mind. Inside her stirred a blend of passion and longing, but also a faint fear nestled deep in her heart. Was she truly capable of learning what she needed to? Or was this journey only the beginning of something far greater? As the wagon rolled down the dirt road, Sakura whispered to herself, "Everything depends on my effort. I must not give up." The elderly man and woman glanced at her kindly. The man asked with a warm voice, "Young girl, at your age, where are you traveling alone? Do you have someone waiting in the city? Where is your family?" Sakura's silence, thick as a heavy curtain, began slowly to lift. She answered softly, almost in a murmur, "Yes, there's someone there. I'm going to them." The old woman looked at her with a sorrowful smile, as though wanting to say more, but kept quiet. The wagon approached the city at a gentle pace. And when they arrived, Sakura offered a modest bow in farewell, a silent gesture of gratitude, too deep for words. As she entered the city, her eyes drank in everything. Thieves prowled the alleyways in tattered clothes, the wealthy flaunted bags full of coins, buying expensive fabrics. The poor sat quietly by the roadside, farmers sold their harvest in the bustling market. Street performers enchanted crowds with their tricks, while fresh fruits and vegetables painted the stalls in dazzling colors and fragrant scents. Sakura tried to ask passersby for directions north, but everyone ignored her, as if she didn't exist. A heavy sadness settled in her chest. She sat in a corner, her silent tears tracing down her cheeks. Then, a spark flickered in her mind. She still had a map. A small hope, but enough to keep going. Sakura was still sitting on a bench at the corner of the market, deep in thought about her old map, when a sudden voice jolted her. A thief in tattered clothes and with a sly face approached, speaking in a mischievous tone. "What's that in your hand, little girl? A map? Got any money? Or are you just wasting time?" Sakura hesitated for a moment. Maybe he meant to help, but after she showed him the map, the thief's eyes filled with greed. He stared at the map with a sinister grin and said, "Looks old. Valuable, even. So, where are you headed?" Sakura replied, "To the north." The thief smirked. "But the north is too far. Oh, look. Seems like a fight's breaking out over there. Come on, let's check it out. I'll show you the way afterward." Sakura was uncertain, but chose to trust him. The thief walked ahead slowly, and Sakura followed behind. They had only taken a few steps when he turned into a narrow alley and suddenly disappeared. Sakura froze, glancing around nervously. When she reached the spot where the fight was supposed to be happening, she found no one. She sprinted ahead to find the thief and finally spotted him at the end of the alley. But the thief laughed mockingly and sneered. "You're too easy, girl." Then, with a punch and a kick, he knocked Sakura to the ground and ran off. His footsteps echoed in the alley as Sakura lay bruised and angry, but her determination to move forward was unshaken. Lying there in pain, the world seemed to darken around her. Time itself felt frozen. Her eyes stared at the sky, where twilight colors bled into each other. Silent tears streamed down her cheeks, waves of loneliness and despair crashing inside her heart. Suddenly, a familiar voice called to her. It was the elderly couple who had brought her to the city, calling out with concern. "Child, get up. Come home with us. Rest for a while, eat something, then continue your journey." Sakura slowly lifted her head. The kind faces of the two people, glowing faintly in the darkness of the alley, were like a small light in the heart of the night. Hesitant yet filled with a fresh spark of hope, she reached out her hand toward them, and with their help, rose from the ground. The pain still lingered in her body, but the warmth of their kindness gave her strength. The old man sat beside the heater while the old woman gently prepared a cup of hot green tea for Sakura. The house was filled with the soft glow of the lamp and the scent of freshly cooked food. The old man asked, "What was it that the thief took? Why did you chase him? You knew you couldn't stand against a grown man. Why risk yourself, girl?" Sakura, still feeling the ache in her body, replied in a trembling voice. "I wanted to take back my old map. I had borrowed it from someone, but that thief stole it from me." The old woman, standing beside the table, asked softly, "Why is that map so important to you? Where are you trying to go?" Sakura quietly stared at her tea for a moment before speaking. "I must go north. There's someone there I have to find. This map was my only guide." The old man thought for a moment. "So this journey is truly important to you, girl. But you need rest, you can't go on like this." The old woman added, "Eat something first, then think carefully and decide how to continue." The old man stroked his white beard. "North? That's a long way, girl. How will you get there? Besides, have you heard about the creatures that live there? Beings that even the bravest people flee from, creatures no one dares approach." He paused for a moment, staring into the heater. Then, with a slight tremor in his voice, he continued. "I remember. Long ago, I went to the northern forests. Back then, my friend and I were searching for lost things, gold and coins said to have vanished, ancient relics of great value, even magical plants that grew only there." The old man's eyes lit up, and a faint smile appeared. "You know, we saw strange things there. We heard unfamiliar sounds, as if even the wind itself was speaking. That forest had its own magic," the old woman said quietly. "But it's dangerous. If you are truly determined, you must know what awaits you." A strange fear washed over Sakura. Her heart began to race, her mind flooded with questions, one after another. What kind of place is that forest? What hides in its dark shadows? The questions seemed endless. She looked at the old man, as if seeking all the answers from him. She began to ask, one question after another, and the old man answered. With every word he spoke, a veil over the forest's secrets was slowly lifted. He told a story, his own story, of the time he and his friend had once stepped into the northern woods. A forest filled with strange sounds, the whispers of the wind, and an uncanny feeling of life and danger. His gaze drifted to the distance, as if reliving those moments. The old man sighed and began to speak. We were just two friends, and one day we decided to enter a forest even the bravest avoided. Some called it the spirit of the forest, others said it was cursed. But we were eager, perhaps foolish, but in search of something rare and precious. He glanced at Sakura, as if the memories themselves still carried fear within him. We set out with 2 horses, some food, a sword, and a dagger. In the morning, as we entered the forest, a deep silence blanketed everything. Only the sound of a gentle stream and a breeze stirring the leaves could be heard. Nature was beautiful, lush meadows, clear springs, it was like a dream. Peaceful, yet filled with secrets. He paused, a bitter smile on his lips. We searched for treasures and hidden relics all day, but by evening we had found nothing. When night fell, we camped by a fire. We ate, trying to rest, but as darkness deepened, strange sensations surrounded us. It felt as though unseen eyes were watching from behind the trees, waiting for a chance to strike. The fire's light seemed to be the only thing keeping us alive. The old man looked at his hands, as if still feeling the scratches of that night. Suddenly, the horses began to scream. One of them bolted, and my friend ran after it. In the dark, his foot caught on a root and he fell. When I reached him, he was unconscious. I waited for him to wake, but in his sleep, he dreamed. In that dream, a fox sat beside him, smiling at him with an uncanny grin. My friend shouted, "Shoo, animal!" But the fox didn't turn back, only its gaze changed, becoming frightening. It said, "This is no place for you, this forest is sacred. Run, human, or the darkness will consume you." The old man's voice dropped to a whisper. He jolted awake, screaming, and when he looked at me, all he said was, "We need to run." Until then, I'd thought his fear was born from the shadows, the wind, or the invisible eyes watching us. But after we escaped the forest, he never spoke. His silence lasted all the way back to town. Once we returned, he fell ill. Day by day, he worsened. At night, in sleep, he muttered strange things. Whispers that felt as though they came from another world. "Humans, you are forbidden in this sacred forest. This is not your place. Run, or the darkness will devour you." When he finally improved, I asked him what he'd seen. His eyes were full of fear and wonder. He told me everything, voice trembling, like the truth itself was too heavy to carry. His tale felt beyond real. So haunting, even the telling of it chilled me to my soul. After that night, we never stepped into that forest again. But my friend, he lasted only a year or 2 more. Then he passed away. Nothing was ever certain, but I've always believed that those strange creatures in the forest left their mark on his soul, and maybe even his body. The old man leaned toward Sakura, his voice lowering, as if revealing something sacred and secret. "You know, I've heard of only one person who ever made it through and still lives inside that forest. They say he was a general, a soldier of the old war. A man who carried a legendary sword, a blade so feared it made even the darkness recoil. They say his strikes were so deadly that shadows themselves stepped back." The old man paused, exhaling slowly. After the war ended, he went to the forest. Not for treasure, not for adventure. He wanted to leave everything behind, the killing, the torture. The people who only chased power and cared for nothing else. I think he was tired, broken, war had severed him from the world. Sadness flickered in the old man's eyes. They say he built a home there, lives alone, hunts his food. And no one dares approach him. Not just because of the sword, but because he's become part of that forest. A living spirit who carried war into the woods, but refuses to ever return to battle. As Sakura listened, something deep inside her flared, a spark that grew by the second. With a voice filled with resolve, she said, He's the one who can help me. He can train me, and I will return. And when I do, I will have my revenge. There was no hesitation in Sakura's eyes anymore. Inside her, a flame of purpose blazed unshakable. The forest, the general, the secrets. They had all become part of her mission. Something pulling her forward, something that no obstacle could stop. The old woman smiled gently at Sakura and the old man, and said, "Before you go, come have something to eat. The night is long, and there are many stories yet to come." They sat around a simple wooden table, the air filled with the scent of fresh bread and herbal stew. The elderly woman, her hands creased with time, carefully filled each bowl and paused with thoughtful care as she looked at them one by one. As Sakura ate, she kept her gaze fixed on the old woman. There was a strange warmth and worry woven into her features. After dinner, Sakura looked at the old couple and spoke with quiet determination. "Tomorrow I set out. I have to enter that forest. Even if it's dangerous, there must be someone there, someone who can help me." The old woman folded her hands and whispered, her eyes filled with concern. "My dear child, I hope your decision is the right one. The forest holds beauty, and darkness. Be careful." Sakura bowed her head respectfully, her thoughts turning toward the long night ahead. She knew her journey had only just begun, and within her heart, both courage and fear stirred. The next morning, the old woman stood at the doorway, her gentle smile catching the morning light. "Take care of yourself, child. The road ahead is hard, but may hope walk beside you always." Sakura bowed again and said firmly, "Thank you for everything. I'll return, stronger than ever." Well, thank you my dear friends. I hope enjoy this story. Be patient for the next episode, and don't forget to subscribe. Have a great day or night wherever you are.